Save the Semantics, episode 202. It is March 5th, 2023. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. It's been... How long has it been? Why don't I ever check first? It's been 10 days. No, I don't know. It's been a couple weeks, I think, since I last recorded. The past week has been rough. It's been a bit no bueno. Relatively tumultuous, I gotta say. But this weekend's been decent. It's been pretty good, actually. It's been not too bad. And today I'm just trying my best to kind of relax and enjoy and just take things in as best as I can and not mull over things. Because I find myself, when I don't do anything, when I just have, when I do have some spare time to myself, oftentimes, rather than just going about and doing, like, being active in a sense, not necessarily being, like, physically active, I haven't really, although I do want to be more physically active, but just doing shit other than just kind of sitting by myself in that sense, you know what I mean? I found that to not be the most helpful. Like, I think that when I try to do other things outside of which just kind of just sitting there, I think has been a lot more healthier than doing absolutely nothing in that sense, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think having some things to do, of course I would like to relax and essentially do nothing on during these times, but I also think that I need something to consistently stick to, being more like conscientious of my activities and shit like that. Yeah, and really just not being super complacent, I guess. Trying new things, essentially. And I felt like I was able to kind of do that this weekend. So I'm happy about that. I think breaking things up from the norm is always good. Well, not always good, but you know what I mean. It's good in the context of wanting to do and try new things, I guess, is sort of is to my benefit, and I think that can be healthy to an extent. Anyways, yeah. Despite this past week being kind of rough and just kind of me going through it, we bounce back, man. We bounce back again. It's just as time and time again. It's just the ebb and flow of things. So you take it however you can in periods of days or weeks or months or whatever. There's gonna be rocky patches for sure. So it is what it is. Since I last talked, I have gotten back into the NBA. I've gotten back into basketball, which has been good. It's been great. I talked about how I've sort of fallen out of it, but post All-Star break, I haven't watched full games really, but I've watched the highlights. I've watched and listened to a lot of the commentary regarding like the games. In sort of the latter part of this season, and there's been some good fucking games, man. There's some really great ones. The Warriors are currently on. Well, actually, they fucking lost. I think they lost today. As I'm speaking, I think they just lost to the Lakers. Let me just double check. Oh shit! Sorry, I just yelled into the fucking microphone. I'm so sorry. I dropped my phone there. And there's a siren. I'm just trying to chill, man. I'm just trying to look up games. Oh my god, this is a disaster, dude. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. Let me see. Warriors, Lakers, they lost. Okay. So up until today, they were on a 5-game win streak on their homestand. They just cannot for the life of them, they cannot win on the fucking road. And I just don't understand. I just don't understand, man. It's frustrating. It's frankly gonna bother, like, they have the worst, considering their standings right now, their seeding, they have the worst road record out of any of the teams that are currently in the top 8 of both conferences. It's pretty bad. If we are able to make it into the playoffs, if we are able to clinch a seed, I just think it's not going to be, again, playoffs, regular season, whole different beast. I understand that, but when you got to win sometimes, you know what I mean? You got to win a few times on the road to prove that you can face that kind of adversity, but it's just they just have not shown that. I understand home Warriors are incredible, one of the best teams in the league, but you have to take into account that you need to be able to face your opponents away. Like, you just have to be able to stand up to that challenge, and they just have not proven to be able to do that this season. So that's a little frustrating. I feel that they can potentially stem the tide in the future, but I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But yeah, it's been really exciting. There's been some really good games. One of the ones that I want to highlight is the Sacramento Kings and the LA Clippers, where they scored the second highest game of all time. I think it was 176, 175. Crazy shit, man. It was double overtime, but I think they scored like 140 in regulation, which is fucking wild, dude. That's crazy. I know people are saying like no defense and stuff like that, and then other people were saying that there was some defense, but it's just, I think it's to credit both teams' offenses that they were just shooting lights out, man. It's crazy. But I watched the highlights of that one, and that was really exciting. And I caught like the latter part of like the second overtime, and it seemed like a really fun game. So, that's that. Again, the Warriors games that I have sort of had the chance to maybe take a peek of some of the highlights have seemed like a lot of fun. Warriors coming back in this third quarter, as they do. That's just the expectation. You just third quarter Warriors, man. That's just reliable, man. You just know what to expect with those guys. But again, I mean, they lost today, so hopefully they can keep up some level of consistency going forward, and just kind of keep that energy through the rest of the season, because we have like less than 20 games remaining. So I think it's important to really be cognizant about those kinds of things, and just stick it all the way through. But the highlights that I've seen so far of a lot of the games have been really exciting. There's been some really close games. All of these games leading up to the playoffs are going to matter, especially like in the West, where again, I've mentioned this before, but the seeding, the game breaks in between a lot of the teams from like 5 through 13 are all super close. I think there's just so much volatility right now that you really can't take your foot off the gas, really. And I'm speaking from a Warriors fan here. I think there's not really there's not really a chance to really, or a period of time that they can really relax, especially just considering how, I don't want to say like botched, because I think they can recover, but the first half of the season was a bit of a wash for sure. So I think they have a lot of they have time, and they do have a lot of room to recover for sure, but it's there's not a lot of time remaining, and each game matters to secure a playoff spot, playoff positioning. All of that is super important. So each I think that's great. I think having those having that pressure, having that much significance to each game lends itself to the teams putting in way more effort. The kind of the near playoff intensity of each game is great. So when I do have the chance, I try to tune into some of it. And if not, I watch the highlights, and I get kind of the gist of it. And that's been good. It's been fun to kind of watch over a lot of the highlights of these games, because they've been really fun, entertaining so far. I'm excited for the playoffs too, man. I mean, of course, I'm gonna enjoy this last part of the season as well, but I'm excited for the play-in. I think it's gonna be really intense this year, and then the playoffs, which is gonna be interesting, man. I think the West is probably the most competitive it's gonna be. I know the Nuggets are gonna be pretty much the clear number one seed. It's just the fact if they're going to be able to prove getting past the second round, really, because they haven't been able to do that. I think with the inclusion of KD with the Suns, a lot of people, including myself, feel that the Suns are going to be much more competitive. They have the potential to go up in the standings, and they can also upset a lot of the higher seeds, I feel like. Just because KD plus Booker, I guess to an extent plus Chris Paul, it's a dangerous team. So I think you can't count them out in any way, shape, or form. I think in the East it's gonna be a little bit more I don't want to say straightforward, but there's more. You kind of have a better expectation of what you're gonna see with who is gonna be at the top of the conference, right? It's gonna be Bucks Celtics for sure. I think, Bucks Celtics. Either way, right? Bucks or Celtics at 1 or 2, and then everybody else is gonna sort of follow suit afterwards. Even though the Sixers just did beat the Bucks today, I believe, or yesterday, last night. I just think the two, Milwaukee and Boston, are pretty solidified up there at the top. So I could kind of see either of those two going to the finals and those two meeting in the conference finals. So, yeah, I'm trying to think who would be a good matchup, or who could potentially be an upset, because last year there wasn't really any upsets that I can think of. Well, like the Warriors were the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, and they beat Memphis, but I mean the expectation was that they were going to beat them anyway, just because of experience and everything like that. So, I wouldn't necessarily call it too much of an upset. Technically it was, right? 3 beating 2, but in regards to, contextualizing it, not too much of an upset. In the East, number 1 Boston Celtics made it through, right? So that's not really too much of a surprise in that regard. I think it would be exciting, of course, as a Warriors fan, it would be it would be good to see the Warriors advance once again. But I mean, considering the parity of the league and how balanced things are, you could potentially see some upsets in a way. I think the Western Conference, there's more likely to be lower seeded teams beating out the higher seeded teams. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it would be exciting because I feel like it's been a while since I've really seen like an eighth seed beat a one seed. That hasn't happened too recently that I can really think of. So that would be fun, man. If I don't know who's eighth seed in the Eastern Conference, Atlanta Hawks. Listen, if the Hawks beat the Bucks or the Celtics, that'd be some good shit, man. That's not gonna happen, but it would be fun if it does happen. Or I don't know, the Timberwolves beating the Nuggets. That could be something, right? I mean, that would be more disappointing. I think there would be more emphasis of it being more disappointing for the Nuggets than it being a crazy upset for the Timberwolves or whoever is like in the eighth seed, right? Just because there's a lot of expectation with Jokic performing, and it seems like he's gonna get his third MVP, which is crazy. But just just looking at his numbers and the team and everything like that, the success of the team, it's hard. Excuse me, it's hard not to see him getting it. I mean, who else? Giannis? That's probably it, right? Giannis and Jokic. So, I think there's going to be some higher expectation of sorts being put on Jokic and the Nuggets, just because they've somewhat underperformed in the past couple of seasons. So I don't know. I think they'll be. I don't know. Even if they don't make it to the finals, I guess I feel like they'll be all right going forward, even next season or the next few seasons, as long as Jokic is there and performing at the level he is. I mean, I actually was just thinking about it. There was an upset. It was the Dallas Mavericks being the Suns last year. So I'm incorrect on that part. That was a pretty big upset. Huge disappointment for the Suns, right? So, because they were the best team in the league last year, best record in the league at least, and then they just completely shit the bed. 7-game series, game 7, right? Everyone knows what happened. So, I take it back about there being an upset, but fuck it, more upsets, man. Let's make it happen. It's always good to see an underdog beat the big boys. So, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff happening in the NBA right now, and I've been enjoying my time watching what there is available and what I have in my time available. Among other things, I know last time I mentioned RRR, and I did end up watching it last weekend, I think it was last weekend I watched it. It was kind of what I expected. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It had been a long time since I've really watched any Indian films. I also wanted to correct my description. It's actually a Tollywood film, not Bollywood. The movie is based in like one of the southern Indian states. I'm actually going to confirm it right now so I don't get this incorrect. So there's a bit of a difference. So Telugu cinema, some sort of movies based out of South India, basically. There's a specific distinction in the language. It's not it's different from Bollywood, because Bollywood they speak Hindi or Hindu, excuse me. Is it Hindu or Hindi? God, I'm so stupid. And then in Tollywood films they speak Telugu. Uh, Let me confirm this. Hindi. Is it Hindi or Hindu language? I feel like I should know this, man. Come on, bro. What you doing? Yeah, it's Hindi. So it's funny. When I was watching the movie, I noticed some instances where like the lip sync, it didn't sync up properly. It was a bit off putting. Some of it I was thinking, oh, maybe this is just bad ADR, but and maybe you could argue that it is to some extent, but I think it's much more of it's. I watched RRR in Hindi, which is not the original language of the movie. The original language of the movie is Telugu, which again is based from southern India. So I was like, oh, that's why there's a bit of like there's a bit of a like a, I guess a disconnect between what is spoken and what is, what they're saying verbally within the movie, and then also like the ADR. So there's a bit of I guess discrepancy there, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why I noticed it more. But anyways, really fun movie, really over the top. But I had a lot of fun with just the spectacle of everything, the scale of things. Like some of the set pieces were really crazy and really cool to look at. And I just had a really fun time with it. I didn't realize how much traction. Like I did mention last time that it did get some notoriety here, I guess, in the States and within Western audiences. But I didn't realize how much notoriety or how much exposure it had actually gotten. Like people were talking about it. It gotten like awards for like or it got an award for one of the dance sequences in the film, which is awesome. It was such a great like dance sequence. Like I'm not really a huge fan of, I guess, Bollywood music in that sense, but I felt it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun to witness that. So I understand. I think it's well deserving of that award, I guess you could say. I think that there was some of the. I think when you're going into this film, some of you do have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, just because a lot of it is very cartoony and very over the top, which is great. I love it. It's like an anime, and you could argue it's a combination of that and Hong Kong martial arts movies, House of Flying Daggers, shit like that. But I feel that despite all those things, I felt that the writing was actually it was very interesting. I liked the allegory that it was using of the two gods, right? I forgot the names of them, but these kind of like mythical figures, and how the two characters that you're following they kind of embody them. I mean, they fully just went right into it, especially at the end there, which is great. But I think you could argue that it alluded to it earlier on. And maybe if I was familiar with the folklore, with the mythology, I'm sure I would have like picked up on it. And I'm sure like people that are familiar with it were easily like, oh, okay, this is what this story kind of represents. But it was very epic. It was very how do I even put it? It was like combination of like kind of a theatric performance, and then also kind of like a superhero movie sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like I could see this movie being shown on a stage as a play. That it kind of got that sort of sense, right? Because you have just these crazy sequences, you have kind of tongue-in-cheek dialogue and humor, there's a whole dude, I was enjoying this is earlier on in the like it was like at the 20-minute mark or something where the two characters finally meet, the two main characters finally meet, and then they have this whole like sequence of them bonding together, and I thought that was so like it was so good. It was so it's very, you know, cheesy, but this montage of them just like fucking around and being best friends. It was incredible. It was so good. Like it was just it's super cheesy. I was just laughing the whole time. Like this is so it's again, it's incredibly just over the top. Like they were just doing crazy shit together. They were like working out together. They were just like running around. Like one guy is riding a motorcycle and the other guy's riding a horse alongside him. It's just so good. It's very silly at times, and I think they leaned pretty heavily into it, especially towards the end of the movie, where they had these crazy ass action sequences. Where I was just like, I don't even. I'm just curious how they executed this. You know what I mean? And I feel that way a lot about action sequences in general for I don't know, the raid especially. I'm just like, I still don't know how the fuck y'all did this, you know? I think this one is you know, there's much more of a reliance on CG and that sort of thing, but still there's some really great sequences. There's some really cool action set pieces that I thought were really fun and really enjoyable to watch. So that are some of my thoughts on RRR. I'm glad that I took the time to watch it. It's really long. That's like that's one of the main criticisms that I have, is that it might be a bit long. I think some sequences could have been cut down a bit shorter, but I also think that the scenes that are shown in the movie lend itself leading to the climax, and I think it makes sense. It makes sense as a product of all of its pieces. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's still a little too long, I guess, in my opinion. But really fun movie, really fun. Just so much. It's just it was a joy. And if there are other movies that are similar to this one, I'd be happy to check those out. I know there was one like a little while back that kind of had like a similar, I think it had a budget that was much bigger, but I think the scale of it seemed really fascinating and really just sort of awe-inspiring, I guess. So I'll be maybe I'll check out that one. I think that one might be on Netflix as well. So maybe I will take a look. Other than that, just you know, getting through it day by day, week by week. It is what it is, you know. Not much else to really add to that one for today. Yeah, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for listening. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.